Welcome back everybody. So I've completed the other side to my braid and I've just plaited, as you can see, under, like right under the braid that I did first and just slightly past that middle section. So I've just secured that with 2 curvy grips in the same way. So what I'm going to do is release this top braid. Now ideally you'd either ask your client to pull these 2 braids nice and tight or a junior, someone there to help you. So I'm just going to get those held for me. So, okay, so they're quite tight there now. So what you want to do is look at where that bottom braid finishes and where the top braid finishes. So that area there is where we're going to put this blanket stitch in. So I've got my cotton pre-ready just for quickness for the video, but on the next, when I start sewing the weft in, I will show you how to get what I've got there. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting the curved needle behind both of those plaits. So obviously you've got to be careful here because on the doll set it's not going to tell you if the needle touches the scalp. So you've got to constantly be bringing the needle back to you. So I'm just going to check that again. So you're going to be putting the needle right behind the 2 plaits like that. Just making sure these hairs are out the way. And then what you're going to do is first of all, to start this, you can bring your needle through completely. And then you want to put it through the cotton. The cotton is double looped. So you're going to pull that nice and tight. So there's a knot in the end there. So that will just lock into place. And I'm going to do that again just for added security. So this is starting your extension stitch. Now instead this time I'm not going to put it through those 2 pieces of cotton. I'm going to put it through the whole piece of cotton because this is the blanket stitch now. Okay, so that's nice and tight. So now I'm going to start moving across. So I'm going to bring that cotton in line with the top of the plait. I'm going to come around 1 centimetre from where I've just done that stitch, and I'm going to put the cotton behind that needle like that and pull that again, and that just locks into place. And I'm going to do that right across that area. So needle at the back, cotton loops around the back of the needle, and then you want to just pull that, and that's your lock. Okay, so hold your cotton horizontally, put your needle through, put the cotton behind the needle, and then pull, and just guide that into place with your other hand. Okay, moving across. So you want to keep everything nice and tight. If you start letting go, you're going to start getting in a little bit of a mess and you end up with knots in your cotton. Okay. So obviously you want to make sure that you're going to the end of your plait and you're getting that last, where you've got that hair in, that last piece. Okay, so that's going to be my last stitch now. I'm just going to do another stitch over the top of that and do what I did with this stitch and go through the cotton, because this is your finishing off now, and then again on top with the same stitch. And I'm going to go through the cotton that way, but also through those cottons there, and then pull that in, that creates a knot. So then I'm just going to do a knot on top of that. This is the bit that you'll find quite fiddly at first, but if you just keep everything quite clear so you can see what you're doing, and then guide that knot into place, and then you can let go now, thank you. And then use your old scissors to cut there. Okay, so that's those 2 plaits attached. So what I'm going to do now is take out these curvy grips and release those plaits, and I'm going to sew that weft onto the top. Now you will find that this will happen, the hair could potentially jump up, so but you're going to sew your weft over the top of those. So again, I just always do another double check that your weft is going to sit on top, okay, and you're not going to have anything overhanging on the edges. If you do, you can just snip it off, but ideally you don't want to do that because then you're wasting the hair that they've bought. So you want to keep as much as you possibly can. So to thread your cotton, you will obviously put it through your cotton, and then I tend to pull it an arm's length. Just move this hair out the way. A full arm's length, as long as I can pull with my arm. and I find that normally that's about right. So it is awkward when you have to stop and start again. Cut the cotton so it's double, like this, and you want to make sure it's all unravelled as much as you possibly can. And when your ends are at the same point, like this, make them as even as you can. You're going to put a knot in the cotton, the bottom, and then another knot over the top. So again, be practicing this, because things like this in front of a client, you want it to be that you can do it. So it will take a little bit of time to get right first time. Obviously I'm making it look quite easy, but you want your cotton so it's double knotted. And then you're going to snip off them ends so that you've just got your knot there. This cotton is quite thick, so it's your thicker sort of cotton that you buy out of haberdashery. It's nice and strong. Now what you're going to do to sew the weft on, you can hold the weft and as you go along, or while you're practicing, I would suggest clipping it in place with your Kirby grips, like this, like that, so you can use both hands then while you're practicing. Okay, so you're going to start it in exactly the same way as when you started this area, but you've got a weft to go through as well. So you want your pieces to be covering your plait. You're then going to put your needle through the weft and through the plait at the back, and then you're going to go through where you've double looped your cotton, and just nice and slowly pull that into place. Keep it nice and clear for yourself which bit's which with your cotton, so just guide that in. Okay, and then do the same as what I did before. So cotton going through, loop through your cotton, and then go through the threads again. So that will create a knot, but you're using your other hand to guide that in. And again, if you get any little loops like that, you just need to separate your cotton and pull, and that'll just pull that in nice and tight. You don't want to leave any loops like that, because when the client comes to brush the hair, it's going to catch and pull out. Okay, so then you're going to start your stitching exactly the same way as you did before, about a finger space in between, moving your cotton nice and clear out the way, the back, and just guide that in. Now obviously if you've got clips, you're going to have to watch it doesn't catch on the clips, or if you've got sometimes a chair the client's sitting on, if you've got anything like metal sticking off, you have to watch it doesn't catch, because you're working with such a long piece of cotton. You have got to keep control. So just guiding that through there, and doing the same as what I did before. I'm working with 2 wefts of hair, 2 pieces there. Wouldn't work with any more than that really, because you don't want the extra weight and pressure as the hair's going down. You would just do more rows if they needed more hair. Okay. So keeping that really as neat as possible. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, I would be using darker cotton and I would be using lighter hair, but just to get this little video in so you can be practicing, we're working with what we've got. So that's all going to sit at the top nice and neat. Now we can remove that clip now, get it out of my way. So when you get to this point, you've got to make sure that that hair from the plait is sitting under your weft. So just always check that bit, and then you can carry on. So just pulling nice and tight as you're working. Just making sure that all that hair is sitting and you're not pulling any other hair in, so that your needle is going through right at the point where you want it to go through, rather than put it through low down. So just work quite closely to the scalp. Move this round now so you can see. Again, you're just going right over what you've seen before. And now I'll just take that clip out to the other way. So once you get to about this point, you might feel quite confident with just holding the weft as you go along. Because as long as you're pulling tight, it's attached now. So just pull tight on each piece. Use your clips as well, again, to keep that hair out the way. You've got to make sure if your needle's going in that hair at the top, that you are pulling it back to you so it's not catching any of those hairs. I'm just going to work in the same way. Again, with this little piece of hair from the plait underneath, just want to make sure that is under the weft. Be careful when you're pulling your thread that no one's behind you. Okay, I'll move this now so you can see the side. Okay. Keep working all the way to that front area. Now I'm right-handed, so I've started on when I'm looking at the right-hand side. So if you're left-handed, obviously you may start on the other side. Work a little bit differently. Lots of ways you can do hair extensions, and lots of ways you can do the stitching as well. So this is my way of doing it, and what I've found works. The main thing is thinking about placement as well. So you want your placement to be away from the hairline, an inch away at least, and it's just keeping everything neat with your hair. You don't want to be having too much hair on one row because obviously it's too weighty. So taking everything into consideration. It's not just the technique that you do. The technique's one thing, but it's the way you take influencing factors in and the way you work. So it's making sure you're putting enough hair in to, you know, for the client's density of hair, and it's going to sit flat. So dipping your section down a little bit at the back as well will help that to sit when you think there's nothing worse than them bulky hair extensions, obvious hair extensions. So coming towards the end now, you want to make sure that every little bit of the weft is in with the stitching. Anything like that will stick out, you need to make sure there's a stitch as close as you possibly can to the end so that it keeps it flat. Again, clients, once they find something that they can pick at, they'll start messing with it, or a brush could catch on it. So you want to keep all of this. You don't want anything that they can pick at there, so just make sure you're putting that stitch in as close to the end of it as you possibly can. Okay, so that's nice and tight. So what you've got to make sure as well is you don't want that knot where it can be caught, and you want it somewhere where it's quite a little bit bulkier rather than on this really thin bit. So I'm going to do exactly the same. So I've put my needle through the cotton. That's going to create a knot, and then on the spot, so directly over what you've just done, go through the cotton and then through your thread. Just gives it that little bit of extra strength, and it's just locked in and nice and secure. And then knot on top of what you've just done. So obviously you can't see that knot going in, but if you knot through your cotton and then hold onto that cotton at the very scalp, and when you pull, that knot will end up there. So you've just got to guide it into place. Okay, so it's nice and tight and nice and secure, and then you're cutting your cotton at the very end, and that is your stitching for the sewn in hair extensions. Now obviously the next part would be to take the hair down and to blend it in and cut it all in and everything. Now this isn't a colour match, and it's not an actual service that we do, but just so that you can see the plaiting and the stitching, that you can be practicing, and you just want to feel it to make sure it's flat to the head and it's nice and tight. Okay, so hope you can all have a little practice of that and you enjoyed that video. Thank you very much.